Hello guys, welcome back to another installment of my Mass Effect 3 multiplayer guides. I gotta say, I'm pretty excited about this one, for a couple of reasons. One thing is that, I never actually bothered with the Cerberus classes very much, not because I thought they were bad. I mean, on Bioware forums, everything's bad. Not that I listened to that, I just never got around to it. In the last couple of days, I've been messing around trying to find what I consider an optimal build. Now, optimal build doesn't necessarily, in my eyes, mean what's going to score you the most points. Although I think you'll do quite well with this, but I think it's the most fun. It's very effective and the most fun at the same time. And I think this is actually quite different to the builds I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen everything, but a lot of the Ex-Cerberus builds are pretty straightforward, and I think this one is a bit different. And so, and a lot of my builds, as you know, are quite odd, or I guess different, if you want to call them that, than some others that are more conventional. And I think in the last guide wasn't that unconventional, but I think this is a bit more so. So, right off the bat, let me just say, with regards to the Ex-Cerberus, that I won't be talking very much about the Adept, or Adept, however you want to pronounce it, because the Adept is, I wouldn't say it's a gimped version of the Vanguard, but Charge, because of its survivability and the fact that Charge makes the Vanguard so much more survivable. I mean, if you have to choose between the Adept and the Vanguard, choose the Vanguard every time. Not to say the Adept is useless. In fact, I discovered, playing with a North American today, because I'm in Europe, that Vanguards are still pretty buggy if you're not off host. So it was a pretty big mess. I mean, I was playing my Cerberus Vanguard, and I was literally teleporting through the screen and flying around, going through elevator doors. It was weird. So if you can host, or you have a really good connection that playing with friends that doesn't cause issues, then I say go for the Cerberus Vanguard. I will talk about Lash, but less so. So let's get started. This is super fun. At the moment, this is the most fun class for me. I just love, well, whipping things. Whipper is the name. Well, Charge is pretty straightforward. My Charge is nothing, and I've tried a lot of different builds. I've been basically playing and saving up and spending all my money on reset packs to try different things. I find this to be the most effective, though. So just standard radius. Now, an interesting thing about this is that single charge force and damage would be interesting if it broke 1,000 newtons of force. The reason why is simply phantoms. Phantoms require, to my knowledge, at least 1,000 newtons of force to be staggered by a charge, which would be incredibly useful. Only Krogans have that power, either radius or force or damage, because they're just freight trains, basically. The Cerberus Vanguard comes close. If you spec here, you get 975. But unfortunately, in the game mechanics, close is not enough. I experimented, I tried to stagger them, it doesn't work. So, a pity. But those, that's the way the chips fall. So radius is more useful. Then, I think I'm open-minded to both here, because weapon synergy is really good, obviously, right after a charge. But having for 15 seconds a pretty good duration, 25% bonus, which could be really good on Smash, potentially. So I think this is up to you, which one you choose. At the moment I'm rolling with this, but I've done this as well. And this, obviously go for full barriers. I have done some interesting, particularly in the Drell Vanguard. It's 25% chance of not triggering a cooldown. You might ask, well, why? It's pretty simple, because the Drell dies almost instantly anyway, so it didn't really make a difference. And it was pretty good. Sometimes I would get 3 cooldowns in a row. I thought, wow, that's really, I mean, that's pretty interesting. But no, I'd go for the full barrier restoration, no doubt. That's Charge. Smash is kind of your bread and butter power. I mean, it's one of the unique powers to the Cerberus class. So here you think this is an interesting choice. Now, on one hand, the top choice, you have Biotic Combo. Add a biotic effect to a target that we detonate, increases damage. increase damage by 30%. Okay, so that sounds interesting. It sounds perfect for a biotic character. Then you have electrical damage, add electrical effect target, and increase damage by additional 50% for 7.5 seconds. That's a DOT effect, damage over time. With regards to a DOT effect, DOT effects are great, but if you're a Vanguard constantly in the thick of things, DOT effects are not so great. The other nice thing about this is that adding a biotic combo allows you to be one of the few Vanguards that can actually detonate your... No, the few? Let me just think. I believe you're the only Vanguard that can create your own biotic explosions with your powers this way. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case. If you add this biotic combo effect to Smash, a Smash target, when you charge into them, will suffer immense damage, and it will create a biotic explosion. So, very, very nice. Between here and here, the difference in recharge speed, and I'll get to the weapons and cooldowns in a second, is so minimal. I mean, we're talking about point something. We're talking about the difference between 0.154 versus 0.13 something. It's really minuscule. Whereas this is increasing force and damage by 40%, which is very, very significant. Obviously, it's nothing to sneeze at. Whereas this is, so just ignore this. In my opinion, you're gonna, for this class, for this build, you're gonna want to go for low cooldowns anyway, and I'll get to that in a second. Finally, this is a tough choice. You know, on the one hand, Lash does a lot of damage, and having more damage against armor and barriers sounds really good, and it is. But at least with regards to the Vanguard, in my opinion, because you need as much crowd control as you're possible. I try to play this being in the thick of things all the time. You want to go for the impact radius, because you're going to have, well, the range I believe is 8 meters anyway, but you're going to have a larger area of impact. Not only that, you'll be able to hit more targets, which means more crowd control. Sure, this is a great evolution, you know, armor barriers, but it's tough. You know, I guess you could go either way, but I prefer this for the way I play. I gotta say, that's just me. Let's talk about Lash, even though I have nothing in Lash. Lash is quite useful. It's not as bad as people say it is. There are some really fantastic effects it has. For one thing, once you hit level, I'll skip ahead to level 6, evolution, you're basically pulling targets that are shielded with barriers, which is, you know, that's awesome crowd control. It works on phantoms. So let's talk about this, detonate versus damage. I usually go for the damage, and the reason being the next evolution. The damage over time is fantastic. Why? Because it stacks, it's cumulative. And if you have a super low cooldown, I'm not maxed out, but you can have a cooldown that's lower than Smash potentially on this. If you can keep on pulling or lashing enemies, and the DOT will stack, meaning you'll have like 300 points of damage over 10 seconds, which is, or even longer, more than 10 seconds, which is quite significant. And finally, yeah, take this. This will allow you to lash or pull phantoms and just about everything. Yeah, sometimes they dodge it, but not always. And the other nice thing about Lash is I've run other builds I've run a build where I only have 3 in charge, where I only use it for emergencies. I use Lash to sort of draw enemies in, and that creates a lot more versatility. I think the one weakness of this build is you're using essentially a short-range pistol, the Talon, or in this case, or a shotgun or what have you, and that doesn't have to be the case. I mean, you could use a Carnifex or something, but still, you lack ranged attacks. Lash, if you choose to take it, is a really great way of, well, just taking care of enemies that are far away. It's, you know, quite unique in that regard. I would go as far as to say that as great as Smash is, but if you don't, one thing, if you don't take Smash, you're gonna have problems. You're not gonna be as effective against Reapers. That's one thing. But if you play primarily against Cerberus or Geth, you could swing it against Reapers. Lash is almost worthwhile. Because like I said, you're pulling shield and barrier targets once you hit 6 evolution, And you can create your own biotic explosion that way too. You can charge them. In fact, Lash is the only power, to my knowledge, that allows 2 biotic explosions. So that's pretty powerful. And you can crowd control phantoms with it as well. So I could say you could actually go either way, in my opinion. And like I said, if you choose to take Lash, you're going to have a lot better, in some ways, a lot better crowd control, because you're not always forced to engage enemies in close range. It's a tough choice, but the build I was running with the 3 here, and I just thought, I'd rather just go for everything. Maybe I'll do another video with Lash at some point in time. Phoenix training, passive. It goes as no surprise, since you're charging and you want more force and power, as well as smash increases. You want the power and capacity. Finally, this is up to you. It really depends on what level weapons you're using, what kind of weapons you're using. Now, if you have a very high level talent, you're going to have a really low cooldown anyway, and so this extra pistol thing won't really matter. I think anything over 5 would be fine. I choose the talent to use the Talon. I think the Talon is my favorite weapon. Shotgun, it's not a shotgun, but it functions as one on Vanguards. It's really, really great for close range. It's got a decent amount of ammo capacity and clip size as well, and it does very good damage. You could take the Carnifex, you could take the Wraith. If you don't want to charge very frequently, you could even take the Claymore. In that case, of course, you might want to take the pistols and shotguns. Claymore does plenty of damage as it is. So that's really good. I'm not going to be prescriptive. I like using the Talon on this build. It's up to you, though. No one's forcing you to use anything. But I would suggest using either a pistol or a shotgun, for the simple reason that those are the only weapons that you can equip a blade attachment respectively for shotguns, and then a melee stunner for 25% increased melee damage, which is really important for this build. So that's up to you. But definitely, please do choose the damage capacity. Because the way I try to play, and you'll see I play really recklessly, I die a lot, but I'm trying to show principles as usual, and I'm trying to be very aggressive in my playstyle here for the most part. You want to have a super low cooldown, as low as possible, because you want to be able to charge very frequently. Less so with Smash. Smash has a low cooldown as it is. So if you were playing the Adept, and let's say you're playing the Adept because you can't play hosting, I'm much less concerned about cooldowns with the Adept than I am with the Vanguard, for the simple reason that I mentioned, that you're not charging in the thick of things all the time. You're going to be more cautious. And finally, fitness is where it gets interesting, in my opinion. Why does it get interesting? Because the way I look at it, the Cerberus Vanguard's got low health and barriers anyway. So, fine. What can we do with this? Well, we could just do the normal routines, spec for shield and shield regen, but no. What do? I go for melee damage. I do a melee build, and you'll see it's very, very effective. You have a very potent 30% power damage, which affects both charge and smash. And of course, I actually run my Adept this way as well. I also use melee for him. It's my favorite way of playing, so it would be go for Lash as well as the increase in melee damage, and you have martial artists and so on and so forth. Now, you might ask why on earth I would use a melee build. Well, in my observation, I can't say I've seen everything. I don't know. It seems to be the case that very, very many people neglect the heavy melee of the Cerberus classes, both Adept and Vanguard. But through pretty extensive testing, I've come to the conclusion that it quite potentially could be the best melee. Now, you might ask yourself, what does that mean, the best melee? Well, it means taking all factors into account: damage, area of effect, speed, execution speed, that is the animation, how long it basically keeps you vulnerable, and so on. I don't know if maybe it's not it's certainly top tier heavy melee. Why? You'll see in the video. It has by far, without a doubt, the largest area effect, more so than the Asari Adept, the Asari classes. But what's much better than the Asari classes, you're not stun locked into the motion. It's very, very quick. It has one of the greatest force, that is, in terms of staggering. You'll see I can stagger phantoms with it, of all the heavy melees, in that whole area of effect. It's massive. I don't know what it is, but it's quite large. I'll have to look up and maybe post it in the description box later. And it can be executed very quickly in a repetition. Other advantages are because it's an area of effect. You see a couple of times when I'm recklessly dying, the second I get up, whilst I'm getting up, I'm actually hitting the F button. So I'm hitting my melee, heavy melee button, so and you see it in the videos, when I get up, I'm literally just, the second I get up, I'm lashing out in a circular motion in that large area of radius with my heavy melee. And in one case, I think I'm trying to remember, you see me escape a very dire situation, indeed, or a couple of them that way. So it's very, very useful. Not only that, combining it with charge, because charge is on cooldown, helps you stagger. So I kill enemies usually with a combination of heavy melee, whip, if you want to call it that, and you know, my weapon. The other thing that's really good, and I did a couple of times, is smash, and then you don't need to execute the entire motion. Maybe 75% and you can hit the heavy melee button and you'll execute that very quickly. So it really is just a brilliant heavy melee, if only because of its area of effect. It doesn't go entirely through walls, but it can cut through corners. So if an enemy's in the corner and he's blocked a little bit, it will hit them, and I think you see that a couple of times. But this is how I like to play it. I like to play kind of very aggressively. I use smash kind of frequently, and mostly against heavy-duty enemies, because you know, normal troops can take care of with charge and heavy melee and the talent usually. But so in the videos you're about to see, I do the first 5 waves of Cerberus, usual on Jade, and I also do the first 3 waves of Reapers just to show some variation, because this is also very effective against Reapers, just to give an idea of what I'm doing. Of course, I play really recklessly and I die a lot, but you know, that's not really the point. Recklessly, aggressively, depends how you want to define it. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the videos. I really enjoyed making this guide just because I'm having a lot of fun with this class at the moment. I wouldn't say I play it exclusively, but it's really a thing. I really enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's very effective too. So I hope you enjoy the guide, and I'll see you in a bit during the gameplay commentary. Cheers. Hi, so this will be the actual gameplay commentary. Pretty much said what I wanted to say in the actual build discussion, but as you see, I'm playing very aggressively, even recklessly. I died in the first wave, and so on and so forth. That doesn't really bother me too much as long as I'm being effective. Of course, soloing, if I were actually trying to solo, I would be a lot more cautious, because you can't really afford to behave this way when you're soloing. But you know, I didn't care whether I died or not so much as I just wanted to get through the waves and basically showcase the class's skills and how it works. So as you see, I'm making extensive use of the heavy melee. I'd say I'd use it at least as much as my weapon, if not more so. Smash I use fairly often, but there are but it's all integrated with the heavy melee. One of my favorite things to do is charge heavy melee, to stagger them again, or to kill them or damage them, and then maybe fire off my pistol or any combination of that. Because you can do heavy melee right out of charge, so it's very useful. Same thing as I said, if you die and get up, you can use heavy melee, and like I said, it doesn't go through walls, but it will cut through corners. Smash, of course, is very useful. As you see, it can penetrate through walls, much like Shockwave, so you have that advantage. It's a good way of taking on Atlases, and it does do tremendous damage. My only issue with Smash is its execution is very slow. The heavy melee is much faster, and I would say it staggers even more reliably. It certainly doesn't do nearly as much damage. But if you actually need crowd control or you're in a difficult situation, I would suggest doing the heavy melee as opposed to Smash. Even Smash is great if you have time to set up. And remember, either with Lash or Smash, you're the only Vanguard that can set up your own biotic combo explosions. So Smash followed by Charge will do that. It does a lot of damage. As far as weapons are concerned, you know, usually I say cooldowns don't matter, and I don't think they do. Certainly on weapons-based classes. On caster classes, they don't matter that much. I mean, you can swing having a overload recharge rate of 80% on that human engineer, just as an example. But if you're going to be charged in the thick of things all the time, that means you can't afford to have a bad cooldown. And so I have a 200% cooldown with this. My talent's pretty high level with this particular build. You don't need to use a talent, use the Carnage, but use any pistol or shotgun that you like using. That's pretty decent, where you can put a blade attachment on or a melee stun. You want to max out the melee. Also, in terms of gear, if you have it, you don't, it's not the end of the world, but if you have it, use the hydraulic joints. When it's maxed out, and get plus 15% melee damage. And finally, I use a strength enhancer. So all in all, that's about 45% extra melee damage, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's pretty good. Sorry, no, not 45%, even more. Heavy melee is 25% from the pistol stunner, plus that's 40, plus 15, so that's 40, plus 30, so it's 70% extra melee damage. That's quite good. I would, so you want to make sure you're doing, you get the melee out, because you're going to be using it and killing with your heavy melee quite often with this build. And as you see, I'm constantly using it. I can charge into mass crowds and crowds of 6, 7, 8 enemies, and because of the area of effect that's so massive, I can't always kill them right off the bat. Usually, but you can certainly stagger them, get out of the way, and then maybe do it again. But usually, in my observation, if without the martial artist, which increases your damage, you need 3 heavy melees to kill a shielded centurion. With martial artists, you would need 2. Likewise with Nemesis. Same thing actually with basic trooper. So it's not that powerful. It's in terms of actual damage. But let's distinguish between damage and force. It has immense force. You see a couple of times I can stagger phantoms with it. It has that much force behind it. And that is really, in my opinion, one of its greatest strengths, and one of the reasons why it's the best heavy melee attack, one of the best. Because if you're surrounded by enemies, or 1, or even 2, or however many, I don't know exactly the radius is, I have to research it, but that entire area, they're all going to be staggered when you get up. If you're knocked down, if you're dead, med or something like that, you med gel. And in between charges, like I said, charge, heavy melee, it will stagger them more often than not. Sometimes it doesn't, but I think it's more to do with the fact that you just charge and they're already in the stagger motion. Sometimes you need to wait. Lash, immediately followed by smash, immediately followed by the heavy melee. Very good. Good stuff. Just really good stuff overall. Apart from that, there really isn't that much to say. I mean, I would recommend, I need to practice more too. I just discovered this build, I've just been using it, but I really wanted to share it with you guys because I think it's so much fun. It's the most fun I've had in multiplayer for quite some time, because it's cool when you can just whip enemies and send them flying. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, Smash is really great. It really depends on what you want to do. I think Lash is just as good, it has just different properties. So, with my Adept, I have Lash. I mean, basically, for me, if I'm not hosting or I just want a little variation, or I'd say it's certainly more challenging because the Adept is not as it doesn't have the same survivability as the Vanguard. So obviously the Vanguard is in that sense superior. I use Lash there, and it's great for just sucking enemies in and then disposing of them. So that's a lot of fun. But those are the principles. Like I said, I do the first 5 waves of Cerberus as usual, and then I do the first 3 waves of Reapers. It's funny because I got instant kill now. For some reason I was able to med on, I think it was wave 3, final wave of what I showed on the Reapers. But anyway, just wanted to show some variety. Not that I only do Cerberus. In my actual games, I play with other people. I'm usually play Cerberus, it's true, but every now and then the Reapers. And I was trying to level my Adept today, and so it was set to random. Some people, I fought Geth, and I just thought, God, Geth are so boring, so non-dynamic. But anyway, so that's what I'm basically doing in this. I'm just charging, using Smash, and then setting up biotic combos every now and then. But I'm usually basically using the heavy melee most. I really enjoy that, and it has just so many strengths. So yeah. I hope you enjoy the guide, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm still discovering different things about it, but I think this aspect has been overlooked by almost everyone who's done the Cerberus classes, particularly the Vanguard, because I think it synergizes really well with a CQC kind of charging Vanguard going in into a mass of enemies. Yeah, you don't have a lot of survivability in that sense, but the the smash-like effect of the heavy melee is quite impressive and really, really useful. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and like I said, comments and questions, please post them in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Cheers.
forces down to one. One more left. Top marks, team. That's it. Enemy is regrouping.